हॅलो फ्रेंड्स, तुमचं स्वागत आहे राणा अकॅडमी या यूट्यूब चॅनलवरती. आपण आता स्टार्ट केली आहे 11th क्लासची महाराष्ट्र स्टेट बोर्डची वन शॉर्ट सिरीज, ज्यामध्ये आपण कव्हरअप करणार आहोत सर्व चॅप्टर्स एकाच व्हिडिओमध्ये. चला तर मग व्हिडिओला सुरुवात करूया. तुम्ही जर या चॅनलवरती नवीन आला असाल तर चॅनलला सबस्क्राईब करा प्लीज. आणि आपण या व्हिडिओला आता सुरुवात करूया. द लिव्हिंग वर्ल्ड पहिला चॅप्टर आहे आपला 11th क्लासचा बायोलॉजीचा महाराष्ट्र स्टेट बोर्डचा. Planet Earth is made up of abiotic and biotic components. The biotic components are obviously the living beings present around us. The question is, why do we call them living and how do they differ from non-living? 1.1 Basic Principles of Life. The living being, once produced or born, has to survive. For survival, it needs energy and many chemical molecules. For energy, it has to perform metabolism. Metabolism is breaking of molecules, catabolism, and making of new molecules, anabolism. From birth onwards, organisms show tendency of growth and development. This growth is a orchestrated process. You might have observed a sand moulds. Boulders might have observed sand moulds. Boulders grow, etc. This growth is not from within and hence these are not living beings. Growth and development are not the processes which have unlimited time span. At certain point of time, the molecules, organs, systems begin to lose their effective working and become old. This is the aging process of the body. Life has to continue, hence the organism tries to produce a young one like itself. It is possible through reproduction, asexual or sexual. This ensures continuity of race. Males sterile mules, sterile workers, bees do not reproduce. Yet are living organisms. Can we call reproduction as inclusive characteristic of life? As the body loses its capacity to perform metabolism, the organism dies. Any living being responds to thermal, chemical, and biological changes in the surroundings. Responsiveness or irritability is a unique property of living beings. There is immense diversity in living organisms. Since time immemorial, a variety of organisms are living together on Earth. In order to understand the interrelations between living and non-living, as well as between two living beings or groups, systematic study of this is essential. This data is also important for various industries and our agriculture. Intensive laboratory and field studies in order to identify and classify the organisms from strong basis for meaningful use of the collected data. If we need to study this diversity, certain aids called taxonomical aids can be used. These include herbaria, botanical gardens, museums, biodiversity parks, etc. Herbarium. The word herbarium, plural herbaria, was coined by Peter de Tournefort in the book Elements. The art of herbarium was initiated by an Italian taxonomist, Luca Ghini, 1492-1556. Herbaria are effective tools in taxonomic studies. The herbarium is essentially a dried plant specimen that is pressed, treated, and mounted on standard size sheet in order to preserve it. Date, place, collection along with detailed classification and highlighting with its Ecological peculiarities. Characters of the plant are recorded on the same sheet. Local name and name of the collector may be added. This information is given at lower right corner of sheet and is called a label. Botanical gardens. Botanical gardens are the places where plants are of different varieties collected from different parts of the world are grown in the scientific and systematic in a in vitro manner. Plants are labeled. The label board shows scientific as well as common name of the plant. Conservation of biodiversity. Biodiversity is the degree of variations of life forms in an ecosystem. Biodiversity is essential to maintain ecological stability. The extent of complexity and density of biodiversity can be regarded as a measure of health of an ecosystem. Population explosion and over exploitation of resources have resulted in loss of biodiversity at an alarming rate. Conservation involves attempting to slow down, stop, or even reverse the loss in the natural habitat of organism. This is known as in situ conservation. Why does the loss of biodiversity matter? For many people, it is a simple moral or ethical issue. We share our planet with a huge range of other organisms and we have no right to harm them. Biodiversity helps to maintain stability in an ecosystem. Loss of one variety of organisms can affect the entire ecosystem. Museums are the place where collections of preserved plant and animal specimens are kept. Plant and animal specimens may be preserved in formation 10% to 40% formaldehyde. And transparent jar are labeled larger animals like birds and mammals are usually stuffed and preserved. This science is known as taxidermy. Specimens in dried form are also kept in museum. We can even find systematic collections of shells, skeleton animals, insect boxes in museums. Thus, biological museums in educational institutes are reference hubs of biodiversity studies. Zoological parks. Zoological parks, generally known as zoo, is a place of interest for common man. In a zoo, wild animals are kept in captivity. They are protected and care is taken to provide conditions similar to their natural habitat. Ex situ. In a zoo, a naturalist can study food habitat and behavior of animals. Flora, manuals, monographs, and catalog are some other or tools of maintenance biodiversity records. Flora is the plant of life occurring in a particular area on time. A monograph describes any one selected biological group, whereas manual provides information keys about identification of species found in a particular area. Zoological park. Biodiversity parks. It is an ecological assemblage of species that form self-sustaining communities on a degraded, barren landscape. Example: Late Autumnbrack Patil University Park, Guregar, Mahabaleshwar. This park is the best model for conservation of natural heritage in urban landscape. Systematic classification of living organisms is helpful in understanding and the interrelations. In order to understand interrelations between organisms and maintain harmony on plant earth, study of biodiversity is a must. Know the scientist. Dr. S.P. Agarkar, one of the leading botanists of India. Dr. S.P. Agarkar was born in November 1884 in Malvan, Maharashtra. He explored biodiversity of Western Ghats. There are came across the species of freshwater jellyfish, which was until then only known to be found, which was until then only known to be found in Africa. These findings were published in scientific journal Nature in 1912. Dr. Anna Dale, the superintendent of the Indian Museum in Kolkata, helped Dr. Agarkar in his further endeavors to collect, preserve, conduct microscopic examinations of animal and plant specimens. The institute ARI Pune has been named after his name. Key. Key is a taxonomical aid used for classification of plants and animals. The keys are based on contrasting characters. One of the contrasting characters gets accepted and other rejected. The statement in key is called a lead. Normally keys are analytical in nature. Let us study about classification of living organisms. त्याच्यानंतर एक्झरसाइज. तर आपण एक्झरसाइजसाठी सेपरेट व्हिडिओ बनवणार आहोत. ह्याचा महाराष्ट्र स्टेट बोर्डचं बायोलॉजी, केमिस्ट्री आणि फिजिक्स हे चॅप्टर्स 11वी आणि 12वीचे कवर झाल्याच्यानंतर एक्झरसाइजवर आपण व्हिडिओ बनवणार आहोत. तर या चॅनलला प्लीज सबस्क्राईब करून ठेवा. प्लीज लाईक, शेअर अँड सबस्क्राईब. थँक्यू सो मच फॉर वॉचिंग.